Welcome back on MadeInShanghai.tv. Building your business, it's also about building your network. This is why I wanted to meet Joe. Joe is a specialist in networks. If he cannot answer your question about China, for sure, he knows someone who can. Let's go.
Moved to Taiwan in 2003, studied Chinese for about 6 or 8 months, and realized that Taiwan was not really going anywhere anytime soon. So decided to jump ship and come over to Shanghai in early 2005 with the ultimate intention to actually go back to law school in the United States. I was working in a law firm here as an intern and realized really quickly with one of my other fellow interns that the practice of law was just boring. And I realized that law school was never going out of business, and if I ever wanted to go back to law school, I could in the United States, but the opportunities in China may not always be there. So I called up law school and said, I'm not coming. Called my family, said, not coming back. And they weren't thrilled. And myself and one of my other intern friends at the law firm, we decided to start our own consulting company. It's called Tangential Consulting. It still runs today. And we used that company to begin projects in China. So in 2005, we launched the very first miniature golf course in China. 2007, we launched an e-education project focused on the United States. We were building applications for mobile phones for students to study from their textbooks in university. At the same time, we started something called Next Step to build out our network in China, still running to this day. And in 2010, decided to copy Groupon from the United States into China. Well, 5,000 other websites decided to copy it as well, and built that up, raised two different rounds of funding, and then in April of this year, I let the other founders continue on. I walked away, and for the past 6 months, just kind of looking for my next project to work on, whether it's here in China or bridging a gap between China, the United States, and Europe. So right now, I'm kind of looking for what's out there. People like to call me a fire starter. So I like to build things, build the team underneath it, and then move on to the next project within that company or move on to another company. So you saw my profile very, very quickly. That's what I've done for the past almost 8 years, basically, in China. Yeah, like to go back to the Next Step project and to talk about networking for business owners, entrepreneurs. Networking is a very difficult thing for most people. Most people don't really feel comfortable going out and finding a new contact. It's not natural for a lot of people. It wasn't really for me. I'm an outgoing sales guy, but at the end of the day, going to networking events just wasn't my thing. Actually, I had never done it in Shanghai, in the United States, never. But when our miniature golf business failed in China, we realized the reason behind its failure was because we didn't have a network. And so from that realization that we weren't able to contact media, we weren't able to contact potential other investors and a whole number of different potential partners, we decided, okay, where did we screw up? We screwed up with building our network outside of our own business. So what we need to do if we want to continue to do business here in China is build a network. How do we build a network from scratch? Well, we can do our own event. Have you ever done an event? Never did an event before. So we put out a thread on the web and a popular expatriate website here in China and said, who else wants to meet? And who else needs help connecting? And we just had so many responses. We were just blown away by it. And from that we said, okay, well, we have something here. We're not putting any investment into it, but let's do an event. And from that first event that we just basically pushed through the thread on the website and through a couple emails to friends, we had 150 people show up to the first event. That was surprising. I mean, hugely surprising. We were expecting 20, 30 people to come. And so from that, building your own event, we were being a bit selfish at first. We just wanted to meet other people. And in doing that, we thought maybe we could help other people build their own network. So many years later, after many, many events, it's opened my network to anyone. I can now contact anyone in this country, actually I think anywhere globally, and say, this is what we did. We live in a time, though, that online networking is massive, right? And it's now just part of the everyday business, right? When we started here many, many years ago, it just didn't exist. It just in the robustness that it is today. So you have your online tools like LinkedIn. So I would advise, obviously everyone knows this, start with LinkedIn, all right? In Asia, unlike Europe or America, when you connect with someone on LinkedIn, there's a very, very high likelihood they will connect back with you. If I were to connect randomly with you, Mehdi, in the United States, we did not know each other, the likelihood of you connecting back is very, very low, maybe less than 30%. In China, I'd give it above an 80% ratio of coming back at you, which is awesome. So you can use digital tools. But going outside into the normal world, let's look at how you really connect with people and how I've always. To be honest with you, I never get scared to ask people that are much higher than me for a favor or for an ability to meet up with them to discuss what I'm working on. So you have to go outside your comfort zone. If you only talk with like-minded people and only talk with people that are kind of in your stratosphere, in your professional stratosphere, you're never going to go anywhere. So you've got to make that leap outside of that. So that takes a whole conditioning of mindset to be able to go that far. Not easy for everyone. It's not for everyone, right? But you have to have people in your company who do this for you, okay? Or if you're as an individual, you need to find friends or at least a small network of friends that do have those people that like to connect and like to get out there and like to meet new people, whether it's in their industry or across industries. And that leads me to my last point about networking is that if you constantly network inside your industry, it's not really going to be very helpful. It's good for a certain amount of time, but there's going to come a time in a day where you need to know someone outside your space, outside of your know-how and your complete knowledge. And it's at that time, whether it's maybe you're working within the IT space, but you need to be networking to media, for example. It takes a while for people to learn that they don't always be selling, right? They need to be listening, and while they're listening, they can be selling. Because you might be trying to sell something to someone that they don't want, they don't need, but you didn't hear them for what they did want, and then you may actually have a product or a service that they do want and need, and then you can sell them, and that's what they want to hear. So, if someone does approach me, it happens all the time. They start selling, I say, it's great what you're working on. I really, it's awesome. But to be honest with you, I don't need it. But let's just talk. I want to listen to them to see what they have, and what I can give them, and what they can give me. And if we find in a couple minutes that there's nothing there, no, we have a new friend. That maybe one day I'll need a call on. Right? And that's how I look at it. By building lots of connections and taking that time, you're also spending a lot of your valuable time not working on other things. So there is a very fine balance. So oddly enough, when we put Next Step as an event on hiatus in 2010, I became solely focused on our e-commerce group buying company. And when we became focused on the company, I began to lose focus on building my networks. I fell back into the common entrepreneur trait, which is just focus, build, satisfy investor, build team. And I found myself doing what everyone else does, which is, not out there building out your brand, building out your network to build the brand. So I caught myself in it and I brought myself back out from it. But it's you have to catch yourself. You will, as an entrepreneur, we don't have much time. As a business owner, as a founder, as a CEO, COO, whatever it might be, CTO, you don't have much time outside of your daily business, but you got to make that time. Whether it's away from work, whether it's meeting new people, whether it's going and playing, a game of football, going for a beer, you got to do it to meet other people, because that's where you end up meeting the real connections.